All right, let's see how we can split data using Power Query. So we have this data set here in Excel. We will have to then open the Power Query editor through this. All right, so to do that in Microsoft Excel, we will head to our data tab on our ribbon. Look at this closely. The get and transform data group, as well as the queries and connection group, are dedicated to the Power Query commands. For instance, where you get your data into your Power Query editor and so on, and how you refresh connections and so on. But we'll see that later on, okay? So for now, we have our data in a range, okay? So what we can do is to take this data into the Power Query editor by getting it from table or range, okay? So click from table and range. So what this does is basically to first convert the range into a table, then load the Power Query editor. So this is what it's doing right now. It has highlighted the entire data set and has showed us here in the create table dialog our range from A1 to BV998. And then it is important that we check. It's important that we check that our table has a header so that it goes on with whatever is in row 1 here as the table headers. Okay, so we go ahead and click OK. So it has transformed it to a table, then while connecting it automatically to the Power Query editor. So it's opening the Power Query editor right now. Okay, all right, here we are. So this is the Power Query editor. So our main goal of opening this is to learn how we could basically split data using what Power Query. So our column of interest is the contract column. We'll be doing more analysis on this data set later on. But our column of interest here is the contract column. All right. If we notice, we talked about separating date, we like to separate the start contract date from the end contract date, right? However, if we had wanted to use this data directly, this sign here between the two dates wouldn't be great for us to use at all. So we would have definitely been expected to clean the data by removing this sign. Okay, so let's split this. So we want to split this column. So what happens is that I highlighted the column by clicking on the column header, once on the column header. Then I could either come to the home tab here, then on the transform group, I see split column. Or you head to the transform group and you come to the text to column, the transform tab rather, and you come to the text to column group and say split column. So let us do it here. We come to the transform tab, then to the text column group, we click split column. So you see that you can split column in different ways. You can split column by delimiter. I already explained what a delimiter is. We can split column by number of characters. We can say we split after 3 characters, after 4 characters. We can split column by the position. We can split column by upper and lower case, and so many other ways. So, but now we have a delimiter. Where is the delimiter? Between the two dates. This sign is the delimiter. So we'll say by delimiter. So then we have the split column by delimiter dialog open. So this is very important that we look at this way. So it says specify the delimiter used to split the column. So at this drop down, you select the delimiter, or if you don't have the delimiter there, we will then head on to pick what? Custom. When we pick custom, we can easily impute the custom delimiter, in this case, this sign. So now another thing, you see, split at what? It said the leftmost delimiter, the rightmost delimiter, or each occurrence of the delimiter. Let's say we wanted to just split this. Let me move this. Let's say we just wanted to split the start date, to move the start date out, all right, and leave others here. We will say by leftmost delimiter, isn't it? Or we want to move the end date, which is at the right part of the delimiter. I want to move it out and leave the rest there. We'll say at the rightmost delimiter. But now we want to split both start date and end date. So we want to have two separate columns now that we could easily say this is the start date and this is the end date. We want to do that. I would like to now check each occurrence of the delimiter. Okay. All right. So what is the difference between splitting columns with Power Query and splitting columns directly in Excel spreadsheet? The difference is when splitting in Excel spreadsheet, we had to insert separate empty columns to account for the number of columns we want to impute, and we had to go and pick the address where we want to import the separated columns in. But here, we just do this, and then we say, okay, you see that it splits it, right? So it now splitted it to contract 1 and contract 2. The columns that was splitted is what? The contract column. Now splitted to contract 1 and contract 2. So we didn't have to insert a new column or two new columns to get this here. So we could easily just double click on the column name to rename as start contract. Then do the same here to say end contract. Okay, so we have done this. So this is just a simple way for us to do that. There are many other ways. We will bring many other ways for many other data combined, and we are going to see that later on. Okay, when this is done, we want to close the Power Query editor and load our data back into the Excel spreadsheet. So how do we do that? We come to Home, the Home tab. Then on the Close group, we click the drop down and say Close and Load. So if we click Close and Load, it loads back to our Excel workbook. Okay. So you see now that we have successfully loaded the start contract column and the end contract column.